Hey everyone,
It's Chad Church,
and Nikolai Phelan.
and we are excited to bring to you our brand new podcast,
Hullabaloo. Cross-generational,
media consumption podcast
where two gay men
from different generations
watch movies,
read books
listen to music, and more,
to bridge Gen X.
and Gen Z. I thought that was pretty good.
Let's do another take.
Everybody, welcome to Hullabaloo. My name is Nikolai Phelan,
I'm Chad Church.
and this is Rise Cornelius, our first guest, and this is our for our Juneteenth episode where we are going to be talking about Nina Simone. So first off, I want to say thank you so much, Rise, for being here with us today. And yeah, we were just about to catch up, basically. I'm in Berlin right now. Chad, you're in Pittsburgh, right?
Yep, absolutely. And I
And
want to
Rise,
interrupt real quickly. Rise, please forgive me. I'm smoking. I smoke.
Okay, that's fine. I have a vape right here, so I was okay.
I like that about
Maybe
you.
it's a it's a vape zone too. So I don't know.
Right.
okay,
I'm
here.
told it's the new thing. I'm told like smoking is back in vogue again, and
It's organic, so yeah.
yeah,
It's
right,
weird.
exactly. Well, it's my vegan lifestyle that I'm trying to connect you to. Well,
So
it's nice to meet you, darling.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. And you're in Pittsburgh, correct?
Yes,
Whereabouts? I've never been ever.
it is a good city. It is a good city that has actually probably saved my ass 2 or maybe 3 times now.
Okay.
And it's I'm I'm appreciative of it.
Okay,
I have
that's
nice.
gratitude for Pittsburgh.
because you keep coming, have you gone back to Pittsburgh like a few times? Is that why? Like Pittsburgh is always the one that's like, come home, sweetie, we need you here or
Yeah.
something.
It's an easy place to land and then captain the ship to the next spot. I don't typically like to do that out of like necessity, but it's been good to me in that way, and it's been good to just tons of others as well. I could never land in Denver again right now the way I could land in Pittsburgh. I mean, it costs $4,000 a month for a cardboard box on the Cherry Creek bike path there.
Is it like Denver?
I loved.
Okay, because I've only had a stop there at the airport. I was a little shocked because I was like, oh,
Well, the
I don't, know,
airport,
I don't know what I was expecting, but I was
That airport is so far out of Denver. And when I first landed in Denver, what was so cool about it is Stapleton Airport was like a 5-minute ride to wherever the hell you were going to next. And now it's like, well, yeah, we've got this tent out in the field that is no longer a field anymore. Now it's just like a tent in a field with all of these houses that built up around it, and when I got to Denver my first time ever in 1987, and that was 1987 or 9 when I was in college, and it was a lot like Pittsburgh. It was this up and coming place that was generating a vibe that was like, you can make it here. You just put yourself in it and you'll get there. And now, I just feel like it's, and not taking nothing away from Denver. I feel like it's overrated and invaded by a bunch of people that are there to use it, you know?
granola kind of activist
You
kind
get,
of.
yeah, well, you get that, but you also, but like what's rude, like I dug the granola eat kind of thing back in the day,
Okay.
but it was because there was it wasn't like a pretense. It wasn't like but I'm, here and I'm vegan, and it was just like people just lived that lifestyle, their lifestyle, and
Mm.
were like communal in the way they were. Now, like, when I was there through the 90s, a lot of Californians came in, and nothing
Oh,
against Californians either,
that's all
but
you had
they
to say.
they make things more expensive though,
They
right?
do. What is that? Why?
Very
What
expensive.
is going on with the Californians? They did that to
They
Arizona too.
there is like a whole they all left like LA and came to Vegas and did the same exact thing.
Right? They're like, oh my
Yeah,
God, is that only 200,000? We'll
Yeah,
pay for, you know?
right.
full in cash.
Yeah, closing
Ooh.
tomorrow.
So what's your opinion on, have you ever been to Grand Junction? Because my other boss lives in Grand Junction, Colorado.
That is I've been there a few times. When I was there at first, I was like, God, I'll never so I'm from Massachusetts, right? From the South Shore. And like, not that that was anything super fancy before either, but now apparently it's, the thing. But when I got
Yeah.
there, I was like, this isn't much different than Portales, New Mexico, where I went to college. And except for it's in the mountains, and it's colder, but it was like this kind of like, rusty pickup trucks in yards, and
Mm.
but now it's Grand Junction, I mean, like,
Okay,
so
okay, I'm getting it. Okay.
Right.
it's crazy. But the mountain town thing in Colorado, I really, did have a lot of respect for back in the day. I probably still do have friends from Vail and Aspen and stuff, but it's everything is so commercial now, and been built up to be something that I don't know. There's just to me, there's very little of that historical, like, cultural integrity that so many of these places offered prior to
Okay.
the legalization of marijuana, and everybody like rolling in and being like, we're going to smoke pot with all our money and do nothing but raise the cost of living.
I feel about what happened to San Diego. I used to love San Diego. It had this really true, authentic feel to it too. And then I
I
went to
love San Diego. It
I
was my
love it. Yeah.
favorite. I loved it. I had so many magical summers in Moonlight Beach and Encinitas and
Where were you? When were you there? Before the
every
pandemic?
summer of my
No,
life.
before the pandemic though, or after?
For sure before the pandemic. I was
Oh,
there.
after.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, yeah, it's just different. Like a lot of people from LA moved down there. So
yeah.
it's not this like how it was. So it's like
San Diego is to me the true Californian. Like whatever I would think about
yeah.
California, and when people would say like the Beach Boys, I was like San Diego. You know what I mean? Like that's what I connected with San Diego,
Yeah.
because LA to me wasn't California. Like I guess it is, but I still don't like it because I'm like, yeah, well, but Californians are supposed to be nice people.
Like, exactly. That and I loved living there. And then I went to go visit. It was a couple years after the pandemic, and I was like, whoa, like it's just different. Like there's this beach called Pacific Beach. It was supposed to be like Venice Beach, like really, really like hippie like just real. Like it was like really weird. A lot of antique shops. They would really boycott like Airbnb and rental
For
homes,
years.
and they were
Yeah.
like boycotted. They didn't want a Target. They were going to build like a mini Target down there. Like no mini Target. So 4 years down the line, I go to go visit. I'm not living there anymore, and it's just like all kombucha bars, and
Yeah.
Lord behold, there's that mini Target.
Yeah. Wow, that's so what a metaphor to like the image of the mini Target is like the revelation that capitalism has subsumed a place. Like
Yeah,
it was a place of resistance before, and like a fight that was had, and
it was,
now and it was lost.
yeah.
Wow, that's
hmm
crazy. And Rise, where did you grow up?
I was
So
born and raised in probably the most capitalistic place ever. Las Vegas. Las Vegas,
So
Nevada.
you
I was born and raised in Vegas.
Money, money, money. And that's changed too, like you're saying, like
Completely changed. There lots of people from California moved there after the pandemic, buying houses in cash because it's so much cheaper. There's also no income tax, so you have a lot of those people coming in. They're trying to make Silicon Valley 2.0 out there, and all this. Now we're getting all these sport teams. It's just I
the
really
net income tax people are it's so crazy because you think like it wouldn't be like a moniker of a bad person, but it's like it reveals a specific kind of American who does not want to participate in human society.
Mhm.
It is like the capitalist pig of the most capitalist pig. They're like, they have a delusional vision of the world where it's not even like anarchy, proper anarchy. It's like anarcho capitalism where they're like, oh, I would rather just be able to like stomp on as many people as possible, and if I'm the last one standing, congrats. That's like
Yeah,
what I feel like the subtext there is.
yeah,
it's a lot
yeah,
of that these days. There's a lot of that these days. People who just feel like, what is it that they're not Republicans, they're not Democrats. They believe
Mhm.
in like, I have whatever rights I want. I can't think of that right now. They're not independents. They're
They're libertarians.
libertarians. The
Yeah.
Yeah,
libertarians, right? They're like, I want it all my way, and then, but you need to like let me do whatever I want to do, but I also want to use those same city streets. I expect that they're completely done well, and I expect that I can use the fire department if my house burns down, and
Yeah.
but I don't want to pay anybody for it. It's like
exactly.
did you miss the whole fourth grade? Like it's
Exactly.
But also a lot of these people, like I think what's kind of the weird subtext under all that is because when you look at the bigger picture, right? You look at these blue states that have been supporting and paying for all these so it's that's a lot of they're kind of like, yeah, I should get everything for free and also be able to do that because it's white privilege, right? They're
yeah.
like, I don't understand why I shouldn't I shouldn't just get my way because that's
Yeah,
how they operate in life.
Well, and
yeah,
that's the thing. They can't understand, like, so what I found in these recent years, and this is probably a pretty decent segue to where we're going today, but what I found in the last number of years is, and I don't want to put anything on white men or anything like that, but I'm gonna
We do.
a little bit that like they're like, but it always just came so easily to me, and I didn't have to negotiate my way in against other people because the deck was set up for you, brah. And there's so many of them that just don't realize that, and they will never. I hate to say never, but it's so seldom that they actually do, as you say, Rise, understand where like how this works. You know what I mean? Like they feel like, oh my god, now I'm on an equal playing ground, and you want me to play like fairly? Everybody gets to wear sneakers, and it's just it fucking drives me nuts because I'm
Is
like,
that a phrase, Chad, or did you just make that up?
what's that?
Everybody gets to wear everybody gets to wear sneakers.
This is Cornelius Church. My dad, there's a picture of him in my mom's corner. My dad used to say that I have been invited to play, the sports games that were out there in out in the streets. But, when they want to play soccer, nobody tells me to wear cleats. When they want to play, basketball, nobody tells me to wear high tops, and so this is, I guess, my remake of that in short form that, it's great. You're invited to the game, but if you don't have a ball to play with it or a helmet or a jock cup or whatever, you're not going to be as successful as the next guy in the game, you know? this is where, see, this is a fantastic segue. Chad Church is rocking. And this is what was so much of Nina Simone's existence. We were
Right.
talking before we got on for a minute, Rise, about how, Nico, you were saying, you asked me about the sadness.
Yeah, I found so we for this episode, and I'm so grateful, Rise, that you were willing to not only be our first guest, but also like I think it'll be, it's I really want to make sure that this episode is truly decenters me and my it's not really about my experience because this is about Juneteenth and like talking about really one of the most important Black musical figures in all of history, and she is so significant. But when I was reading about not only her life and watching all these interviews, it was heartbreaking because I was like, I have goosebumps thinking about her, but she was so brilliant and she knew she was truly, truly as gifted as she was.
Mm-hmm.
And she was being relegated to these debilitating circumstances, to like humiliation ritual after humiliation, like to use modern Gen Z slang, it's like these constant humiliations. And at one point there's a quote where she said, I could have been the first amazing Black female classical musician and they denied me and I had to become something else, but I think I would have been happier if I was that. And that's so sad to me.
Yeah, I mean, when you get the older you get, you become this, and even me, like I would never the angry Black woman thing, like that's my reputation in Berlin somehow. I don't even know how that happened, it came from me clocking microaggressions. Literally, that's it. But it is like you do slowly turn into this having to be political, having to stand up for your rights all the time. You're always on defense and you're seen as this. She had I mean, yeah, she wanted to just be a pianist and she couldn't. She ended up being really known as more of a political activist for for Black people, for Black women.
Because of how she had to remake herself. I mean, she was classically trained.
Yeah.
Her piano teacher was like, you will go places. And her piano teacher was a white woman, right? Who was like, I'm going to teach you for free, right? And she knew
The Russian guy or the one after him?
this is the very first. She came from North Carolina.
Right.
Her
Yeah.
first piano teacher. It was like the town put together everything they could to make this young girl get to where she needed to go. And then, in my home state right now, she applies to go to college for, the music school, and they like say no with no real, reasoning behind it. And then they act like, well, we just say no to some people, and we never actually say why we just say no. And then she had to go, to the second rate, university that she went to. And like, so this is where that sadness comes from. Where I was going with this is that, this is, and Rise, please speak to this if I'm wrong, but this is the plight of like intelligent Black women who want to do things and want to be successful. They fight their asses off to get someplace. And I just see her, you may see her as some of an anomaly, Nico, but like I just see her as the Kamala Harris. I just see her as the any other time a Black woman steps up, the talented Black woman steps up and wants to do something. It's like, well, no, that's awesome, but you can be vice president, and that's what you get. And bitch, be happy because that's what you got. You got that far along. You're not a welfare mother. You know what I mean? And so there is, I feel, in any Black woman that really goes for it, there is an inherent sadness because it's so seldom that they can actually get to the top of the list, the front of the line, and be successful and be hits that pinnacle of success that they wanted to. She would have been she was an incredible classical performer.
Yeah.
And she got to play in jazz bars and change her
Right.
name.
And
Did
she
you?
had to change her name because of she knew her mother was going to be ashamed
Yeah.
if she was playing in a bar, because both of her parents were ministers. And
Yep.
so she goes to this jazz bar and she's performing there as Nina Simone. And then but she trains. So when she gets rejected from Curtis, the Curtis Institute in Philadelphia, it's completely based on racism. And then she trains for a whole summer with one of the faculty members that was the Russian teacher. I just pulled up the Wikipedia. She trains with this really famous classical piano teacher who's, at one of the highest institutes. And then he's a faculty. He goes, "You're going to get in." And they still deny her. And then the thing that drives me crazy is reading people say Nina Simone attributed it to racism. She doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
On the table,
It's I go, but like even that it feels like a microaggression to me.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
it's like, who else is going to attribute it? Why did nobody else just come out and say, yeah, she was the greatest? It had to have been the faculty. Her professor worked at the school. If he's saying she's incredible, and she was, then they either have to say, we are really bad at picking talent and it wasn't racism, but we fired all of the choosers, or it was just racism. And she was right.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it comes down to this in the end. No matter, your skills, how hard you're working, how hard, it always comes down to this. And you realize that when you're sitting in certain rooms, it's like you are always going to be downplayed, no matter how much skills or how talented you are or anything. It's always going to come down to, first, you're a Black woman. And it's sad that it's like that. And the older I get, I understand it. So I'm exhausted and already 29 and mad. Like, I'm so mad. I'm upset. And I'm trying not to be this, but then it makes you fall into this, how everything is set up. And I don't know how to not be this.
I don't think that it's your responsibility to figure that out. So I'm understanding from Nico that we come from a similar background in growing up, and so and if I'm wrong, then say no, that's not right. But what I grew up, we were like one of the first Black families to move into our town in 1969.
Okay.
On the South Shore of Massachusetts, okay? It was during a time of white flight out of Boston to the suburbs. And my dad was like, yeah, well, I'm getting out of here too. I'm, like, it's not cool here right now, And, everybody I know that's smart is going this way. That's where I'm going, right? And, in my book, I talk about a lot of the things that happened that were, just inappropriate, unacceptable, and so forth. And what I think that, what I'm feeling now in our current day and age is, for every, move one way, there's a move the other way, right? And this current movement has been with a lot of these privileged folks that are coming back at, underrepresented, underprivileged communities, whether they be of color or any given sexuality, any given different definition. And they're coming back with no, you're not gonna. And they don't want to understand what we're talking about right now, right? So that you're mad, like, don't you have a right to be mad? Don't I have a right to be mad. Nico, don't you have a right to be mad? With you, I'm going to say, yeah, you're white, but you're also gay, right? Like, and you're more fortunate to have had an upbringing where that could be out there where I did not. And
Right.
God knows I'm running with two targets on my back in this, but I think we all do have a right to be mad, but proactive with that anger, right? Like, no, I'm not going to go burn down Watts or anything, but I am going to hold you fucking accountable for everything you do and everything you say and the way you do it all the time, and bet your ass that's what you get from me, right? Isn't that the way that, but to make the excuse that I've done something, or that you speaking up, Rise, about this would be somehow wrong. I mean, it's just not, you
It's
know?
always
Right.
like
Right.
even here in Berlin, it's automatically an attack to them. Yeah.
And
But
it,
you should be proud of yourself, I will say. Like the thing is people, especially like when I was in Barcelona, there were so many people in the scene that I was a part of, and it was just a comedy scene, right? It's not, I don't have the racial context, but it was about, I was being outspoken about Palestine, I was being outspoken about Ukraine, I was being outspoken about ICE, and everybody around me was acting like I was a weirdo. And I was getting kind of pushed aside and ostracized for being political. And I said, I'm a comic. And to think that your job as a comedian is to just go up there and tell stupid jokes, how dare you think that you even have the right to a microphone?
Mm.
And I think the only way to sustain yourself when you have so much of that energy is to kind of remember that like you're a warrior. God is like God, universe, whatever energy, however you like process that, is like has tapped you and given you not only the ability to withstand that, but also it's like you have something to be proud of because there's a call that's coming and they might be ignoring it, but you're answering it.
Mhm.
And that is not only is that a beautiful thing, and Chad, we've talked about this before where we were like, none of us have anything to do with the fascists or the pedophiles or the evil or the racism or these ICE people. And the only thing you can do is be against it
Yep.
and be and loudly against it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and then try to find other people that are and find, find community in that. But I think the exhaustion comes from if you can't accept it that that what they're saying is a lie. It's illusion. It's a sickness, and it's always going to want to jump on you and hold you to it because they don't want to change. But every time you do it, you're in the right, and people are proud of you.
Well, and this is how I think that, there's that confusion with Nina Simone and her, like, just straightforward, well, let me tell you about it. I watched one clip where she was, I want to say, in one of the Nordic countries, and she told a woman that was standing up in the audience to sit down after proclaiming that she was a queen and herself, and do you doubt me, and so there's more of this conversation about how how bold she was to do that. It's her fucking concert. You're there to see her, and you're not complying with the simple things you need to comply with to have respect for everybody else in the audience and her. So this is again a woman who spoke her mind being, you know, criticized and belittled for having done so. And then goes on to produce all of these other, even in this, second place status that she rose to in so many ways. She is is still being asked to, just comply, comply with this. That's what we need you to do. When people are like remaking her music,
Right.
I mean, and in the meantime, they're taking every bit, of what she created for herself in this second class status and stealing the money from her as
Right.
well. Like no royalties and like, and she's making everybody rich. you know
Yeah. And then with this woman, it's what's so crazy. And this is like, this is a very like a white behavior. I think that where people do this, and I guess, and specifically like with Nina Simone, this woman standing up, what is she doing? She is using this as a performance for her, like she bought a ticket to perform her racism. She showed up to this concert to try to express a sense of dominance and see if she could get away with it. That's what's going on there. She's going, I don't think you deserve to be up there, and I'm going to see if I can somehow humiliate you, and I can dismantle the energy of this room. And we see it in hecklers and and stand up all the time, and the way that people heckle women, the way that if you go into certain straight rooms, people heckle like gay comics, the way you see heckle black women. It's like, you can in any type of performance setting you might have that, but this specifically in fucking the Nordic countries, it's just she's this woman's creating her own stage for her racism, basically.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Do you guys have any particular song or piece that hit you with what she had done in her life?
I mean, absolutely. How about you, Rise? I'll have you go first.
A cover of her song, one of my favorite, so that doesn't count, which is like The Look of Love. But I think, of course, like one of her like political songs would be like Mississippi Goddamn would be that. And my grandma's from Mississippi. That's where my family's from. Like she grew up during Jim Crow. So yeah, so it ties deep to this, to fight to having to fight for and move to, like, my grandpa was kind of like the perfect person for the US government to pick. Like this young black man living in Mississippi on a farm. Hey, join the military. We got you. Marry my grandma young, have a kid. And they were a family. They were that they were stationed at different places, Turkey, California, and then they landed in Vegas, and then that's where I came along. But yeah, I mean, just like you said, the thing with the no shoes, that's kind of like, I was always taught that not to victimize myself, that I couldn't do anything. I could do whatever I wanted to do. My grandma would always say, you can do whatever you want to do, but you got to work 10 times harder. And you got to be careful where you're at. Yeah, you also be careful where you're at, because if something goes down, it's gonna be on you. Like it's gonna be on you. So I was always raised like that. So that's why I'm a go getter, but I have to go. I gotta go harder. And even saying that to people today, like some of my white friends, do not get this.
Right.
They do not understand this. And I'm like, what are you not understanding? Like, what are you not?
You like me because I work so fucking hard.
Right.
You can respect what I'm doing because it is 10 times harder,
Right.
Yeah.
As a formerly racist person, I will say that I can and I want to say formerly racist, not like I was an overt
Yeah.
as like every white person is racist, still racist. Of course, it's all internalized, right? We're living in racist powers, racist structures. There's only way to be the only way to be against racism is to be actively anti-racist, which means not only having conversations like this, but being a sense of openness. And I think that what happens with people, because when I was younger, I had a hard time receiving it. Now, I think when you're in your early 20s, you're more narcissistic. So that's a problem, is the self-centeredness can get in the space of growth. It gets in the way of being able to be like, not the whole world doesn't fucking revolve around you.
Yeah.
And I always would say this. We talked about this like so many times, Chad. It came up when we talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you were like, Chad was talking about, you told me that your family had dealt with sundown towns and stuff, right? Where you were like, yeah, where you're like, we do not drive at certain hours, we don't go certain places, like you knew. And when we were talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he was like, yeah, all these white people going into a home, like they were like, it's like no black person is ever gonna do
We
this.
wouldn't have, we wouldn't have been in that situation.
Right?
Like when the car got down to a quarter tank of gas, we were absolutely too late to fill up. We're on our way to the gas station, period. When things started getting funky at the gas station, we were on the way the fuck out of there. And if we had to make some corn mash to get the car to the next place, that's what we were doing. But we weren't staying there after dark,
Right. Right.
Yeah,
So
I'm just recently dealing with some anger and just trying to processing. So this is kind of opening up. In April, I had a psychosis situation going on, and my flatmates, of course, in their eyes as white Germans, they called the ambulance. And when I heard them doing this, even when I was going through psychosis, I was like, because I know the cops are going to come. So this scared the crap out of me, and my plan was to leave and just run down the street and hide, but no, they come, and 2 ambulances come, 2 huge cops show up, they bring 2 more cops, and the situation got so escalated, brutality. This just happened in April here in Berlin, and yeah, it was so unnecessary. Like, these 4 cops were huge. They could easily just put me against the wall, handcuffs me. I'm body slammed to the ground. There's blood in my because my mouth is busted, my nose is swollen, there's blood. This was for a mental health call. And the
and
one
they're treating you like a criminal.
I asked them videotape. They could not understand the concept of any of this. So even them not learning, it puts me in
Right.
danger.
Yep.
Right. The ignorance it's like bad drivers. You're like, yo, like you're gonna hurt people on the road, but specifically just people of color, and then everybody just kind of shrugs their shoulders, and it's like, yeah, that's super traumatic, I have to imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have
and
never expected that out of Berlin.
yeah, yeah, me neither. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, me neither. It was really dehumanizing. I mean, in the States there might have been
I'm
a
so
bullet.
sorry that happened.
Oh,
I'm really sorry that happened to you.
I'm still very fresh processing. I don't know how to feel about, because I'm also friends with my flatmates. I don't know how to feel about it. They don't know. At the same time, I knew immediately. I was like, this is gonna get escalated, because in the U.S. you call for a cop. If one cop shows up, who knows what this is gonna possibly turn into
Right.
now? Especially me being a Black woman, I'm not
Right.
understanding them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I mean, of course, I was like, my fear was escalated. It was just, yeah. So this is something that I'm processing, and that also that we don't get to have mental illnesses. We don't get to be addicts. We don't get to do this. It's like we have to live life completely differently. We don't get the
Right.
freedom to have these things. And this
Right.
is why I'm angry, and why it is different. I like than the States. Like I said, there would have been a bullet in the back of my head, so I am grateful for that.
Yeah.
But it is making me angry that I'm always silenced all the time. Even I've dated mostly white women, and even after these relationships, I have to be completely silent pretty much, because if I say something, I'm the
Makes
loud,
sense.
crazy black girl that's and I'm just silence and silence and silence. And then when I'm ready to talk and I blow up, I'm angry, and then I'm still not heard, and I don't even know what to do. Like I don't know what to do.
I have friends who have talked to you about this, and like I know that one of the things that helped one of my friends, Nick, is he started to see like specifically a Black therapist who specialized in Black trauma, and that was like it really helped them be able to go through because they're non-binary, and it really helped them go through like and just delineate a lot of the stuff that was like handed and put on them to be able to understand like this is that, this is why, this is here, and it undoes some of the crazy making, which I don't know if that would be helpful, and I obviously don't have any resources
No,
back to
yeah,
that if that
no,
would
yeah,
help.
I know it definitely would be helpful. Like everyone is like therapy, therapy, therapy. I was like, I can't just go to any therapist. Like you guys don't understand. This is so deep seated to like, yes, I'm so grateful for my grandma, my grandpa getting me to a place like, it's so different from where they were in Mississippi, where
Right.
like their family, like a lot of their family, they're still there. They're in the middle of nowhere. They're fine just sitting there and chilling and growing old there and drinking and smoking, and that's their life. My grandma didn't
Yeah.
want that. They moved to Mississippi, and I grew up in predominantly white area and in the suburbs,
Right.
which had its own different kind of thing. And I still dealt, yeah, I still dealt with racism and all this stuff, and I'm proud of that. But it even comes down to even like my like best friends that were people of color, like we wanted to make we always we're always on.
Right.
We're always on, even when we were children. You
Right.
go into a store and you're being watched, and you had to make sure that like the part I am not gonna steal. Like, how do I make it seem like I'm not gonna steal anything? Or you have your new classes of the year, and you go to your new teachers, and it's like, how do I make it like known that my teacher, like I'm not that student, which is what does that even mean, that student?
Yep.
But that's
Right.
already instilled in our brains, and
Right.
why people aren't even thinking of this. That's
This
not even
is
going through her head.
this
Like,
is one of those things that like having myself also grown up in a predominantly like as in white picket fence, white milk like environment.
mhm,
I like one of in my pattern of growth, which a lot of my friends from younger years do not understand, is that I finally, like during the George Floyd stuff, the George Floyd murder, I finally started to see myself in as a black person, right? Like before that, my parents were like, it's about socioeconomics and you just need to maintain this, middle class, upper middle class, way that things are, stay in that box and everything will, there will still be prejudice, but you'll be safer staying in that box and not getting out of that box, right? So I was telling Nico not too long ago, when I went to college in New Mexico, the first time I had been around black people of any, you know, uh, volume was at this college, and it was a completely different thing than I had grown up. Like culturally, I was like, whoa, man, I don't know. Like they like say fuck a lot, and they're very loud. And I went, went back to and I was, they're looking at me like this is the asshole in the outie. You know what I mean? And I'd come out of the school and they'd spit on my windshield would be covered with spit and stuff when I'd come out of the student union building after working at the newspaper, after working at the television station, after having classes all day long, being that one, being, trying to make it up here. And I went, but this is the first day of school. I went back to my dorm room and called my none other than white friends at home. And I was like, dude, I really don't want to say this because we were very, all the people in my town, they weren't racist, right? But they're like, but prejudice is fuck, and in many cases. And I had absorbed that. And I go back to my room and I'm like, Mark, there are a lot of niggers here. I mean, like, I would never say that, but these are not my people, and
Yeah.
so that's what I had been, I I see both sides of this
Right.
because
You were inundated with this belief system, and you become a product and an extension of the weaponry. Either you're being oppressed by it, or if they get you, you get to be the Uncle Tom or whatever,
Exactly.
yeah,
and they go, ha ha, you're a good one. Aren't you so good?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you're not
exactly.
you. Right.
You're not like those ones. Not you, Rise.
Yeah,
Be
Right.
like you, but
yeah.
them. Yeah,
Right, you're
yeah.
white. You're white.
Right.
I mean, like, where does this shit come from, right?
Right.
Like, it's so, and we dealt with it like as a way through civil rights and so forth. I think that we, as a society, a community, dealt with it because it was the only way to get beyond it. Like people trying, passing for being, semi-white or whatever, right? And now I feel like we're just like, we're devolving back into that with the current political place that we are at, right? Like,
Right.
because you look at this, like Tim Scott, dude, you're as black as I am, or, as black as the Ace of Spades or whatever. And you're talking about like how this dude is here to help you or help
Right.
us as a community. I mean,
Mhm.
fuck no, you can just like, I don't know, open up the newspaper and know that that's not the case,
Right.
And so, but with George Floyd, all of a sudden I did have a number of white friends that were like, this is wrong, and were vocal about it. And I had to look at myself and say, wow, man, the very shit that you have tolerated and bought into for, your 40 years of whatever plus of life, you now get to get out of. And you are going to have to be more vocal about how you feel about these injustices for other people to understand, and sure, be the catalyst to having people understand that this is, this is where you were, this is where this has gone, and this is where it needs to go. The minute
Mhm.
I started being that person with a number of my white friends, it was too much. It was like, oh, well, why are you like so militant now? And I'm like, I'm not
Right.
fucking militant. I'm just trying to live the same convenience of life that you have inherently. And you don't even want to understand how, in that convenience, you don't understand what this has all been about.
Such an inconvenience for them just to listen and acknowledge. Like me even talking about my experience not too long ago, I had friends over there that, someone that was listening and was giving advice and was talking about Black therapists and all, and we were talking about things. And one guy was so visibly annoyed by this conversation. Like, can we talk? Can we put some music on and talk about something fun, like do something fun? And it's like, yeah, they it's like it's a real inconvenience for them just to have the conversation.
I just want
Right.
the Kardashians back on TV.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. This is
Out here,
it.
they're like, can you just put the techno on? Can we just dance? Can we just like, can
Right.
we,
Right?
can we just?
I want to I have to bring the conversation back to Nina Simone, so we like talk a little
Yes,
bit more about her, just if that's okay. I apologize, but
No,
I
no,
want to,
and let's do that because
yeah,
I'm
I know you have
into
to
that
wrap
stuff.
up. You got to wrap. Chad, like 7 more minutes is okay, and then we can cut it. It's
Yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
just send a little text in the midst of
Yes,
this.
I know. Thank you for your patience. I know, Chad. I appreciate it.
No.
So, I guess I'll to like answer the question in a roundabout way, which is classic of the Hullabaloo podcast. For like one of the songs that I always really liked from Nina Simone is actually "The Other Woman," which I actually think is very interesting because we've heard it. I first heard it from Lana Del Rey, right? and Jeff Buckley also sang it. And when Jeff Buckley sang it, it was obviously very, very beautiful. And when Lana Del Rey sang it, it was always in the context of her persona. But when you go back to Nina Simone singing it, it's very fascinating because she's singing about being somebody choosing somebody else over her, and it's not divorced from being a Black woman. And so the pain of being cheated on as a Black woman, somebody wanting to choose somebody else, but then also thinking about how so many people know this song, and it's like it's removed from the racial context. A lot of people know that song because of Lana, and it's so beautiful when she sings it. But what makes it, I think, quite powerful is understanding that it's an extension of her reality. She's singing from the perspective of you. I know you have a mistress, but also she's white. She has perfect flowers. She's perfect, and I have to be the one that's just here, always chosen second. And it's this thing that kind of recurs in a lot of motifs of her songs and her music. Like even when we talk about it's Mr. Bojangles, right, Chad?
Yeah.
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 So our Nina Simone connection rise to like kind of bring it to that is we wrote a script together. That's how me and Chad like kind of came together as we wrote this script that was about a Black man and a gay kid who lost a one like a friend and who died, and then they go on this road trip to go spread his ashes. And there's a certain point in the script where we were like trying to find a song, and Chad was like, "What about Mr. Bojangles?" And it's like I'll try to pull up the lyrics, but it was the perfect song for like the song at that point. But it was also, again, it's another like another example of her making this incredible music that is about either people not being picked or people being amazing or dying. And
Mhm.
and at the same time, she has a part of the lore of her is that she not only did she not get to be what she wanted, which was to be a classical pianist, but then she was anointed with the responsibility of being a voice of a generation and being the person that stood up, that sang amazingly, that used her voice. And it's like it's just I think there's a lot to like think about, but I also just think that it's like it's crazy how becoming part of history is an incredible burden, especially in that context.
Mhm. You guys, you both have had your songs and you've done the lead into mine because this is where I found Nina is through this song, Mr. Bojangles. And, for me, initially, Nico and I have a very different way of experiencing our music. He's far more in depth with the way he takes this on. And for which I have an incredible amount of respect because I think that I'm kind of like, you know, the I don't know, the pop music knucklehead or whatever. And I haven't done a great job in my life of reading into what I'm consuming. And so for this song is my favorite because of this kind of the song itself has an understated status sadness in it, but in its reality, it also, I knew a man, Bojangles, and he danced for you in worn out shoes, and very much of how a lot of Black culture existed and has existed is like do with what you have to get what you can to get anywhere, right? And for me, though, so the lyrics of the song say one thing, but then also it is that she does such an incredible job of bringing that understated sadness into life because of the way she sings. And the singing wasn't her thing, obviously. this
Yeah.
is something, again, this is something she had to rely on to get to, a baseline,
It's the storytelling. She was like kind of always brought herself in the same way that like I think there's certain actors who it's almost like I would always describe it as like a fantastic actor carries themselves right behind their eyes. Like you're worried almost like if something hits them, they fall to dust. I think that the way that Nina would perform with her art and her music she was always right behind her eyes, is how I could describe it, like from my like feeling.
Yeah. Really in it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, guys, I feel like the
Yeah.
real, the bummer here, because I just literally have scheduled things, one thing on top of the other today, and then somebody drops something right in the middle of it. And this is why ordinarily, honestly, Rise, we would be like, just like going on and on and on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
today
Yeah.
I gotta move a little
No,
fast.
it's okay. It's okay. I mean, it was an absolute pleasure. I think this was a
Yeah.
beautiful, episode. I want to thank you again, Rise, for being a part of Hullabaloo and being our first guest, and also to participate in helping with the pod. And yeah, I know you got to go, Chad, but if you want to say
And
anything
for the
else, Rise.
and to be here for the Juneteenth episode.
Yeah, and it was really nice meeting you, and I'm happy to be a part of all of this. And yeah, I'm there was a lot more that I wanted to get into as well, as like I don't know if you have time, like if you have one question of like why you think she felt more comfortable in Europe than the States.
As
I'm kind
Tina
of struggling
Turner
with
did, like
I'm struggling with this right now because I do want to live my life out and build my roots out here in Berlin, but I am quite silenced here. It's not what I expected to be like. So it was interesting that Nina, she did feel like this, like, she didn't have to be fighting all the time here, but I feel like I'm fighting all the time here. So
it'll
interesting.
you know what? It'll come back for a weekend and experience this shit. You'll really see it up front. I'm like I said, I'm moving here to Italy, and now I'm looking at Japan because some things are being held up in Italy. I'm looking at a second option in Japan, but I just feel like we've lost a lot of what the United States that you recall has been, and even as an expat, I feel like you should like be everywhere's going to have problems.
Yeah.
These are, I think, maybe more surmountable than what maybe coming next year. I mean, the Voting Rights Act has been destroyed.
Mm.
Like I'm just like, am I gonna get out before the ovens get turned
You
on?
are, you are. Sorry. That's I can't even let him say it. I'm about to like sage. I'm like laying it out. Yeah. Well, okay,
Serious,
Chad, how about this? Chad, you can if you gotta go, but Rise, we can talk for like, 3 or 4 more minutes and so that way we don't all have to rush off. And then and Chad, you can get to your appointment so you don't get into trouble, okay? Because I would love to hear
Awesome.
all more of those questions you had, Rise, and we'll be able to share it with Chad after.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's-
It was nice meeting you, Chad. Yeah.
My pleasure from me to you at Hullabaloo. Ciao.
Yeah, so that's Chad. He's
Okay.
an angel.
He's planning on coming to Italy.
Yeah, so he's the whole thing is he was looking at buying this house in Italy, and then there were people that were squatting there for 28 years, and then they were like, "It's our house," and the person who owned the house,
No.
the owner was like, "No, it's not," and he was like, "No," and so he's like been trying to buy it, and then they like got this judge order, and it keeps getting delayed, but Yeah, so I know he'd casually mentioned Japan before, but oh my God, it'd be so fierce if he was in Japan. But the plan is if he gets the house in Italy, I'll be able to hop over there and we'll turn it into a residency for writers.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
wonderful. The Hullabaloo universe is
Yeah.
expanding. Yeah, so I wanted to actually ask you because we didn't get super into Juneteenth, but I was really curious from your perspective, like what what does Juneteenth mean to you? Because for a lot of white people, we're just kind of like, that's your day. And I know like the history of it, like Black Wall Street was burned down. It was, but like to understand from your perspective, when it comes around, how do you feel about it, or what is its significance?
I mean, with these holidays like this, I mean, of course it means something as a Black person, but it feels like it's just something that they finally gave us. Like, here you
Right,
go. And
right,
it should have already been acknowledged.
right.
And I'm gonna celebrate. I told you
Yeah,
I invited you to that event, but that's what I get out of it. It's just, it's just like, here you go. Finally, here you
right,
go. When
right,
there's so much more that needs to be done, and it's like we need more than just the day. There's a
right,
lot going on. There's a lot going on, and I'm realizing I'm a straight up like statistic. Like, my father was in prison for 10 years. Like,
right,
my family grew up during Jim Crow. I'm like, holy crap,
right,
and how much it affected me. And yeah, we have these days where we can celebrate and get together and gather, which is beautiful. I think that's the most beautiful part about it is people acknowledge it coming to light, white
right.
people seeing it. That's, I think, the most important thing. But I think that I hate having such a negative view on things, but it's because I'm honestly I've been angry recently.
Right.
So this is what it means to me. Like, it's this kind of like, here you go, there you guys go. Yeah, like
I think the thing is I hear one of the things you say, and I'm hearing is that like, you just experienced this incredible trauma,
hmm
and you also experienced a deep injustice, and now you are also still living with it. Like your
yeah,
roommates, your flatmates created a situation through their ignorance and maybe with well intention that like traumatized you further and put your life at risk. And then in addition, you still love those people, but then you have to hold the cognitive dissonance of I like you and you are important to me. And I don't know if this
no,
shape
and
is the right
I
shape,
feel
but I have, yeah. So I go, I love you. I like you're important to me. And I can't trust you because you got me hurt and this is unacknowledged.
yeah.
And that's cognitive dissonance. That causes to experience a deep injustice like that it is normal as part of like you're a little bit of an open wound. And
Yeah.
it's a it's okay that you're angry. And it's okay that if you're mad right now about a lot of things. Also, I think you'll know that like you're not gonna live forever in a state of anger. It will eventually, as this stuff like how no, but you have to have that faith. It's like
I,
you're
I was never like the thing is, like, I was never like this though. Like, this,
right,
I was always happy go lucky. Like, that was just me. Like, my grandma would say, like, my sister would look around and see who's good enough to play with her, and I'm hanging out with anyone with a pulse. I'm
right.
hanging,
Yeah, bro,
I'm,
you're a
hang-
shiner. You
I'm hang-
shine.
yeah, I'm hanging
Yeah.
out with, and now
I
it's
I met you at that party and I was like, that bitch is fabulous. Like there were no words. I said, I have to go meet her. I said, it's Black Samantha Jones. And your vibe was so fierce. And I think for me at least, I think sometimes I can like I've been the bitter one. I've been really, really hurt. I had a situation where basically there was a person who it was kind of a reverse scenario, but basically I had a stalker who was essentially like a sexual predator, and they were hurting
Wow.
people. And I came out and spoke against them, and I got raked across the coals. I got called a racist. I got called all these things. And at the time, I couldn't process it because I was in the homeless shelter, right? So I'm like, it was so cognitively dissonant because I'm surrounded by Black people, and I'm at their breakfast table with them in a shelter going, you guys, am I a racist? And of course I was in the greater context of society, but it wasn't in the way that they were saying. Do you know what I mean? Like they wanted, the way I was being painted was because I called out who was specifically a sexual predator. They don't even live in New York City anymore. They got fucking pushed out. But when that eventually happened, nobody sent me a letter and said, you were right. They were raping people. Sorry, I don't want to say the R-A-P-I-N-G, but the point is, but that's, and so what happened is for many months, all I could do was write. It was the only thing that worked was writing. And when I read those poems, some of them people would find them very intense. And I put it in that book. But writing could be a thing you could try doing in addition to like considering therapy. It's like it helps to get it out of yourself, and also to understand not only what you're feeling, but to know that like poison was put at you, in you, and just like a snake, you kind of have to suck it out. You have to figure out what medium to transmute it out of you, but the shiny rise is still there, and it's not, hope is not all lost. And there are people in Berlin who are like me. I just moved here, and they love you, and they're ready to love you.
I think I found them low key like accidentally.
Right.
Yeah.
There are people, your ancestors love you, girl, and they're proud of you. And I deeply believe in ancestors. That's where I feel like I often connect with people as white people. White people do not have ancestors, but I'm like, I do. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm from like Siberia. I think I do have ancestors.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. When I was living in Vienna, I would like for the summers, it was just so profound walking in those areas as a Black woman.
Right.
Like knowing that, wow, my family is from Mississippi.
Right.
Here I am, like walking in these castles as a Black woman where I would never have been able to walk. Like, I take all of that in. I take all of it.
And it's you are needed. It's like you're going through a tough time right now. That's okay. Your bitterness, look at Bjork. I always say this, Bjork, because I always connect it to Bjork because she's always been so transparent about her emotions. She puts everything in her songs, right? And so when she was in love, it's all there. When she was horny, it was there. When she was sad, it's there. But when she was going through a divorce, it was also there. And it's like, it's the most complicated because it's very difficult for people to understand what it's like to deal with bitterness, because bitterness is a normal human emotion to injustice. When you're experiencing deep injustice, you're needing to be seen, but the complexity of the steps that got you there, a lot of people either don't want to walk them, or they're ready to judge you immediately because it's off-putting, that energy. And the only people that I think that should and can or get it are people who walked through it. They go, yeah, girl, I was there too. I have been.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that way.
Yeah.
It's a sucky fucking feeling when you're like, I'm fine now.
Yeah. But I do want to make it clear, Juneteenth, I do think it is the gathering part of it, and it being acknowledged is beautiful.
Yeah.
I do want to say that. Like my friends having their Juneteenth like DJ event, it's gonna be so fab. I hope to see you there. Like
I'm supposed to go to.
if you're able to just stop by for a little bit, like there's some of my friends like trans DJs that are from America. I don't know. I'll send it again.
Send it, because if it's during the day, I'll get a flight late at night, and I'll just catch a late flight, and I'll come. I promise.
Okay. Oh, you're flying out. You have plans.
I'm flying to Barcelona because I have to go do a bunch of stuff there. But I promise you, like, you have my word if they start it during
Well,
the
the
day,
thing
I'll
is
come.
that we were talking, they were at my house the other day, and we want to do more events like this. They lack, and a lot of them are Black Americans. There is this weird division with Black Europeans and Black Americans too, as well.
Mm.
So yeah, if there's something else, then I will
I'm
let
gonna
you
try to come no
know.
matter what. I did it the last time, like I went to Barcelona and I stayed for 9 hours just to see my friend Abraham. Like I will get if I can make it, if I can swing it, I'll be there. Even if I can just show up for a few hours, I'd
Yeah,
love to be there with you.
yeah, because I think
Mm.
that's I do want to show appreciation for that. That
Yeah,
it is being there's so many white people who still don't know what it means. They're like, what's
right.
Juneteenth? Like, they're still like,
Yeah,
yeah,
because we don't teach it in history books.
yeah,
And
yeah. So from my point of view, I'm like, of course, I'm like, oh, here he is. No, no, but I do want to acknowledge that it is important. The gathering of it is important. The acknowledgement, kind of how I
right,
think about Thanksgiving. Like
right,
I try to explain to like Europeans, like they're like what the history of this holiday is. I'm like, yeah, but it's not about that. It's about us getting a break and
right.
gathering together.
Gathering is super important, especially in American culture. There's
Hmm.
being like and that's where it's like with Thanksgiving, I think there needs to be I have a hopeful vision of the world, right? Which is that with this pendulum swing towards fascism, it will swing back. And when we swing back, what we have to do is right now we have to resist and be mad and fucking push back and we hold the wall. And then when it swings back, we pull out our list of things that we want to get done when we have it, you know? And you go, okay, let's go. And that's it. And it's like once the momentum, the wind is on your back, and it will come. We fucking talk about reparations. Let's talk about,
Talk about it.
right, because people don't want to. And I think so many people, reparations was one of the things that I think a lot of people, white people, clam up at. And I go, you guys, he just gave fucking reparations to January 6th people. Like the amount of money he gave, we could be giving to black people and not blinking. It would have been fine the whole time. The whole time.
Yeah,
I feel like Sally Field and Miss Doubtfire. The whole time, it's like it's crazy.
it's crazy.
But there's something liberating in that knowledge. We've already seen it. We know it's possible because it was given to the wrong people who didn't deserve it. So what if we're unfazed then we can be unfazed when we
Yeah,
do
yeah,
right. And a lot of people don't know the joy and the freedom that awaits them when they turn towards the things that they're frightened of and turn towards the things that make them uncomfortable. Because then, guess what? When you look at racism and you are actively anti-racist and are no longer uncomfortable with these conversations, you actually get to be in congregation with Black people who are some of the most funny, fun, like outgoing,
yeah,
wonderful people on the planet. And all the other times it was basically a performance because the whole time you're clamming up because can't you can't be fucking normal because you don't want to acknowledge what white people have fucking done.
yeah. Especially in the States. And here we go. And actually, now I'm thinking back to Nina because I'm in my bitterness, of course, but like, yes, there's still problems in Germany, but they did a good job at acknowledging what they did.
This is true.
They
This
did
is
it.
something I think
They
they
acknowledged
did.
what happened. You can't say certain things or you go to jail. They acknowledged it. Where in the States, there's still statues up and still people
Right,
fighting to keep these statues up for some
right.
reason. That it is it. So now I see why she was so exhausted there. She's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
And,
here.
and she talked about it in her late in life. That's one of the bigger tragedies with Nina Simone. So you're like, you deserved happiness. You deserve peace. That's why I love Tina Turner. Is I get so happy for her because I'm like, yes, bitch. She got the fucking giant mansion in Switzerland. She was doing her alms at the Buddhism. I go, thank God. And she was Sagittarius too. And I was like, yes, mama, thank God, thank God, thank God. Like, God, give it to her, give her everything, you know? It's like we put her through so much. And it sucks. But I like the only thing I can hope for is that if there are multiple lives, she gets to be like her next reincarnation is one of joy, celebration, and peace. Because
Mm-hmm.
she did so much work
Mm-hmm.
in this life. That's the thing that like stands out is you're like, you were a part of the fucking civil rights movement. You were literally she both of her parents were ministers. She was a minister on that piano. You know? She was. She would get up on that mic and she'd say stuff and she would stop and and I remember my dad had very like eclectic music taste, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was in swimming and we would have our carpool. What's really fascinating is in the carpool, they would have my dad would play Indian music and then the kids would be like, and I was this is cool. I knew that it was cool that he yeah. Like I liked that, and he was the one that really put me on to Nina Simone. He would watch a lot of like these voice performances, and then he found this video of Nina Simone. He's like, I really like this, like Nina Simone. He's like, and I always had her songs because he was a marathoner, so he'd always had her songs. But then he put this video up of her, and she was performing on the piano, and she like turns towards the crowd and then addresses them, and she talks about like being exhausted and how tired she is and how sometimes I wish that like there would have been a different life for me. And then she has to go back, and it's like it's an incredible document of the honesty of this experience, but it's unfair that she had to go through like not only go through that, but carry that much.
Mm-hmm.
It's to be a voice piece like that, to be gifted with like to have God in a way or the universe or whatever
Yeah.
open your mouth and say like you will speak like not only will you play and have this gift but you will speak the truth of this experience continuously through it. You have to be incredibly strong
Mm-hmm.
and tired, and they stole her money and they didn't give her it's hard. For me, it's a tough pill to swallow because you're just looking back, you go, yeah, everybody says she's so important. She was so, so good. And it was just like, what are we doing differently? How are we going to, what can we learn from this and make sure that we don't do this to anyone again?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like should be at the center of it. And instead we're arguing like literally them trying to bring back Jim Crow laws. Like that's literally like it's so crazy making because you're like actually like there's something more beautiful and human that if we were digging deeper in the tunnel trying to get to the other side and instead we're distracted because somebody like lassoed us and dragged us fucking 150 miles back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I have someone recently brought up a discussion about hair and I have a controversial like take on this as a Black person.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't bother me too much because I think there's bigger problems. We're dying.
right.
They're killing us. So I can't focus on this right now. I can't focus on if I understand the root. I understand the cause of it, but I think it's on both sides of us needing to change to really change things for us not to be as exhausted as we are and really show light to things that really really deeply matter that are still here that have always been here. Me and my grandma talk about it like yeah things have changed but not really. They really not have
Right.
changed much actually.
Yeah.
They just change in different ways. So I don't plan on leaving Europe. I plan on living my life out here, but it will be interesting going back to the States and saying, okay, this is why. Because
Where we're at.
Nevada's a swing state.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of loud, proud
I
MAGAs
would
out.
love to go to New York with you. Have you ever been to New York?
I've never been to New York.
Bitch, come to New York with me. Let's go. When
I
I
would
get out, when I see
love
the
to
sun up,
go.
come. You're invited for sure. I want to ask you a question, Rise, because I would love to know for like, let's say our, me and Chad always joke and manifest that we have 33.5 million listeners. So we go, for our 33.5 million listeners, like there's a white person that listens to this, right? Let's say that.
Yeah.
They're listening right now. They listen to this whole conversation. What can a white person that's listening right now do it to be better, to help Black people be less exhausted, make them feel more seen? What are the ways that we can show up that if you were like, if only you just did this in these moments, it would have hurt less?
Honestly, just listening, having conversations. This is the hardest part for them. Like, the one thing I'm grateful about one of my flatmates is that I talk to him like, hey, I don't know how to feel about you about this. And he doesn't take it as an attack. We sit and we're talking about it. And we're actually, you would be surprised how hard this is for people to do. I told you, even just me talking about my experience, how it was just so visibly frustrating for him just to hear this. He just didn't want to hear it. It's all fun. I want to have fun because that's his reality. Is just that he's very hot. He's one of a Berkheim regular, so he's really cool guy. Everyone knows him. His reality. He doesn't ever enter his field something like this.
Right.
So I think just listening to our experience and not taking it personal and seeing if it comes up in real life, how let me go back to this conversation and how I could react different to what my friend was telling me. The first thing is saving space and listening, honestly. And I know everyone's saying this. It's a buzzword, community, safe space, but it's not happening. Like it's really not happening at all. And I think that's what I want. That's the first step.
Right.
Because then we can do things to happen just because they're giving it to us because this will make them shut up. Because the problems are still there. It's just now we're having we're not really fixing the problems. They're just trying to just give us stuff to that this is how I'm feeling about things. So I think that's the first step to really change things if we want to. And if a white person is listening to really do that and do what you said you were doing, why it touched me so much was that acknowledging your racism and being uncomfortable. Like you're going to be uncomfortable. Like this has been, centuries of
indoctrination.
Yeah, like it's gonna take some time to unlearn this stuff, and you're going to be uncomfortable. And didn't get to really introduce you too much to my friend Theo that was there I was with, but he lives in Africa, in different parts of Africa. He travels around, and he's from France, and the same thing happened there where he had to unlearn all of his racism. And when he went back to France, he saw, wow. And it makes him so upset that they kind of see him as the white savior that goes to Africa and does a thing but he really isn't. He really is doing the same thing where he's really digging deep, acknowledging his racism and seeing it out loud and calling things out loud.
Right.
He has more of a voice people will listen to, instead of feeling like people are talking, like when I have to say, they feel like I'm talking at them, not to them, and he can talk to them. And this is the most important thing. What you're doing, what he's doing is beautiful. What you said to me was like, that was like, whoa. Like, I was not expecting that. Like, I was like, whoa. It was like, finally something, because you go sometimes to these, I'll go to these queer parties, and, the white muscle gazer, give me like, yes, you're fab, you're this. But you said something that was like, whoa. And really,
I don't know how, I don't even remember.
Got there. I don't know.
It's drugs. The answer.
I didn't,
And
I
it's like, but I also do it all the time because I think the
didn't.
thing that I found is lately, like I just did this comedy show yesterday where the purpose of the comedy show is to turn towards all the things that we're not saying. And I used to do this other show that was it was very like sharp. Like all my jokes were sharp, it was precise, it was together. And I met a bunch of different people that were in the industry and they were just like, you're very funny on the street. Why don't you get more loose? And I also had to think about what I was doing. And I said, this show that I'm doing before, it's very funny and it's committed to being funny. The problem is it doesn't have anything to say. And I do. And so I turned the page and I had to like kind of grieve it because I was kind of hoping that this thing would be this vehicle that would take me to where I wanted to go. And then when I said, okay, if I accept that this was the vehicle that will take me to this thing, and maybe this thing is where it's going to take me where I want to go, or maybe it'll take me to the next thing. As soon as I was able to do that and recognize that, you know what, we don't have that much time to be quiet. We don't have the luxury of kicking our heels up and saying, we're not going to say anything anymore. I was
Mm,
like, trans people are being murdered. Black people are being fucking lynched in the South.
mm.
These white nationalist groups, people are like journalists are going missing. It's horrific. We're living through really dark times. I just don't think, and I told you this too, where I said I get really angry too. I get really mad about like, and I had a friend who told me this, and she lives in Berlin. That's why when I say go, there's amazing people, and I'll try to see if I can connect you with Nadia. She's an incredible colorist, but she's the person who activated me to become politically active because she would always use her voice, and she was an incredible artist, and she was getting on these world stages, and every time she would win an award she would talk about stuff on the podium and say like we have to protect women or free Palestine or all those things. And I said, I know this person and they're kind and they're sweet and they're loving and they're just wonderful. And so I started to go to her and say, I want to be more like you. And once I started to go out there in the world and use my voice, and I was organizing with friends, and we were calling senators and stuff, I would get angry because you look around and you have people around you who you think are good people. But then you're like, oh, you're a nice person. You're not I don't want to say good because morality is not fair, but you're not a
Yeah,
courageous person.
yeah.
You're a nice person, but you have no courage. And right
You
now, we need courage.
We need courage, we need bravery, we need integrity. It's
Right.
lacking so much. And I just want to say how thankful I am not only to see where this grows and everything and be a part of this, but just you coming up and the bravery of saying that to a Black woman. Because you
Oh,
don't
well,
know.
you're fabulous, bitch. I had to tell you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You've never the universe, girl, because whatever it was, like you were glowing. That's why I was like, I had to speak. I was like, you were the most like I have goosebumps. You were the most fabulous person I've ever heard. I was like, whoa. I was like, your hair was back. I remember vividly. Like your hair was back. Everybody's fucking sexy as hell. Your hair is back. You have this like incredible thing, and you have this like hat on. And I was like, that is the most glamorous, coolest bitch at this fucking party. I have to talk to her. And so it's like once we spoke, you told me like we were both just having this real conversation. I told you that like I what changed for me and we can like and then we'll wrap it up. But
Yeah,
what changed for me as a white person was I realized that I wasn't reading Black authors. And I had been reading 50 books a
yeah,
year.
you're seeing this.
And I
Yeah.
said, and I go, why am I not reading Black authors? Like, it's like you're really like a girl. Like, there's no fucking way you can not look at that and be like, question mark, what's going
Yeah.
on? And so I turned towards, I said, I'm going to read Maya Angelou, I'm going to read Toni Morrison. And up to that point, prior to that, it was my favorite author was Joan Didion, who I think is a great writer. She's fierce. But she's a haughty white woman who was privileged and she had like fucking terrible takes sometimes. But she taught me how to write well. But when I read Toni Morrison, I finally said, and it was just like when I left Nicki Minaj to go to Bjork, right? Like it was like when you find somebody who has when you look to an artist and they have integrity and they're living their life in a way that's brave and they stand for goodness and they make great art, you as an artist bloom. And for me, that's what happened with Toni Morrison, because I said, all this time I've been afraid to turn towards this. And here it was, like a better version of me was waiting. And I just needed to be courageous enough to turn towards the thing that I was afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
And I became a better writer. I became a braver person. I became a lot of things. And
Mm-hmm.
it was because Toni, she says so many things that I quote, and that Toni's what brought me and Chad together. That's how we met, was because I was reading Toni Morrison and I said, "Do you read Toni Morrison?" And he said, "I have." Because I was like, "I hate to do this, but I'm dying to talk about her." And he said, "Absolutely." And what happened with me and Chad is when we met one time, just like me and you. And he said, I gotta go. I'm just visiting Barcelona, but I'm gonna give you my number, give me your number, and I'm gonna call you." And I said, "I'm gonna answer." And 10 days later, he called me and I answered. And then, and we just became pen pals. And I think, as much as you are in this period of like bitterness, etc., like you're probably just going through a death cycle, to speak
I
personally,
am. I
you know,
am.
and it's gonna fucking whack off, girl, and you're gonna be that hot, shiny, bad bitch self that you are, because you are the hottest, most fabulous person on the
Yeah, yeah.
planet. And it's like all of this stuff, you're gonna find a path for it. Like you're gonna find not only the people, but all of this experience of like the injustice. There's a reason. And I don't want to say like all injustice has a reason, but a you're a light. And so when you're a light, we go through it. I was in the homeless shelter, right? I was in some of these fucking insane systems of oppression. But now I'm a person that uses my voice for them. And I know that why did I go through that? It was in the time, it was painful and sad and hard. And then eventually that page turns and you find people that not only love you, but they see you, and also people that need you. People need your voice and they
Yeah.
need your experience and they need your honesty and they need your ferociousness and they need that ability to have continue to hold the wall even when people were doing it wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
then like you might be swimming upriver right now, but eventually it's going to be you're going to lock into the new place, and you just have to like you probably have to lose a couple friends. You have to lose some of this dead
Oh
weight,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's like just trust yourself and know that like I don't we've only known each other for a short amount of time, but I can tell that you're a wonderful person and that like you have gifts, and it's gonna be the bitterness is always it's just a season, and soon you'll be shining again. And also whatever these experiences were will become clear where you're supposed to put it, whether
Yeah,
it's art, whether you're supposed to, maybe you'll be a speaker, maybe,
yeah.
I don't know. I can't see the grand plan, but I can promise you that it's not all for naught.
It's part of the story. That's what
Right.
I'm saying. That's what
It's
I've been.
rise is gonna rise, baby.
Yeah, it's a rise. That's all I've been. That's getting me through. Is like it's part of the story. It's
Right.
it's part of the story. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm so grateful to meet you.
Yes.
I'm actually really. It means a lot to me, all of this, because that party was a lot for me, and I was ready to go at a certain when you were one of the anchors that really stuck
Yeah.
with me, and I'm glad
Well,
that we continue it. Got
yeah.
really we got coffee, really actually went through it things, because some people don't
Right.
know how Berlin is, and yeah, and I'm excited to see where everything goes.
100%. Well, thank you so much for being on our Juneteenth episode,
Yes.
Rise, and being our guest. I think this is an amazing and it was a really important episode. And I'm so glad you got to meet Chad and that I got to hear about your guys' experiences and your mutual experiences. And I hope that, like, as time goes on, this also helps other people. And especially, I hope it helps white people wake up. And I hope it helps Black people feel seen. and hopefully it connects them to you, you know, and
Yeah.
and Chad and all those other people that are going, I feel crazy, but I'm grateful that other people are speaking about
Yeah. Yeah. And it will. And it will.
it. Yeah. Well, from us to you, this was Hullabaloo. I'm Nikolai, and this is
Rise.
all right, everybody. Peace out.